Hello, friends. It's Laura-volpintesta from Fashion Illustration Tribe, if you don't already know me. I had a great question, and it's perfect timing for fall because back to school is starting, and so is Soulful Fashion Foundation Immersion course. So I'm going to share this lesson with you guys to get you excited about using your design skills to create and just channel beauty, originality, and your love for fashion. So this question's from a student from last semester. It says, I remember you talking in class about combining the aesthetics of two or three different designers. How would one go about that to make something unique for themselves? Which is a project that I mentioned in a class but didn't end up assigning it. So I didn't go in depth with it. And I love being asked about it because I love working this way. So everyone loves different designers. You know, when I was in the 90s, late 80s, there weren't so many designers on the scenes. It was just whatever you could get in the magazines, you know. Now, zillions, endless designers, small designers, a whole globe of designers. And a lot of students stress out about reinventing the wheel and feeling like they're copying so much that they don't give themselves the space to get moving, right? Like they start placing restrictions and judgments on their process before they even start. I mean, musicians grow up hearing music, designers grow up seeing design, painters grow up sometimes seeing painters or just we're all exposed to things, and we're always going to, any language you learn comes from taking in information and then expressing yourself through it. So I invite you in this project of taking two or three designers that you love and then combining them. Just use this as an exercise. If you tend to judge yourself that way, like, I can't do that, I need to invent everything from thin air, stay with me for a minute. Trust me on this and give it a try. So, all of us have our world of references, our innate sense of color. Even if you think you don't have it, I know you do. I've worked with thousands of students. Everyone has their own brand of color. So many people call it a design DNA, your own sense of how you do things, what you love. And it's like your own voice, it's like your own fingerprint. Everyone's got their own brand and flavor of it. When we go out in public, we might see mass brands doing a lot of things all the same with really strong trends. But individual designers sure do have a strong sense of their own design, even if they cross from like swimwear to evening wear to daywear to men to women to whatever, to androgynous, whatever, it's still always them. And to me, that's very exciting. And it's also very exciting to witness the evolution of who they are over time at any given time, right? Anytime you sit down to the blank page or to the mannequin, what comes through is very much sacred and magical, right? I mean, anyone of us who's touched that has witnessed it, and that's why we're here, right? So, I was saying everyone has their own design universe. And in that universe, there's always this spectrum and this polarity. So you might have like your most minimal thing you love and your most maximal thing you love. Do you know what I mean? Or your most, you have like this extreme differences. Like you might not like five people who are all very much the same. I think it's very exciting how I have, a range where some of the things I love and other things that I love the most are so different from each other. But what makes them the same is me, right? Or what I see in them comes together for me. It may not come together for anyone else the way I do, because our design sense is based on our memories, our experiences, our inner intuition, our love, our natural sense of joy and mystery and what pulls us, right? So let's just say You can do this as a visual, collecting research, collecting images, like going on Pinterest maybe and making a board, for example, or just dragging images to your desktop. Or you could do this as a brainstorming words thing as your first step. Or you could do this as a sketching thing for your first step. Or you could do this as a draping thing for your first step. And the thing is, I find I like to have 4 pots boiling on the burner when I'm designing or creating, so that I can always go to the one that I'm flowing easily towards. Sometimes if you overfocus on one thing, you can like overthink it and overstress about it. And, sometimes it's nice if you're working on 4 projects lightly, then you always have energy and inspiration for one of them. That's just a little tip you might want to play with. But so let's say I have 2 different designers that I love. Now, what makes you love a designer? It could be pure aesthetic, if there's such a thing. There's usually reasons why we love, but it could be like the colors or the shapes or the textures or the fabrics, or maybe it's the models they use or the person they designed for, right? Or maybe it's their business model. Maybe it's a company that plants a tree every time you buy a dress, or a company that sends you an outfit every season with 4 pieces and you don't pick them, they do. I don't know. It could be, there are so many reasons to love a company. It could be their philosophy, the way they message with their marketing. It could be their history. It could be a historical reference, right? It could be the detailing or the technical. Maybe it's someone who works with knit or embroidery in a certain way, or someone who uses prints in a certain way, or someone who only uses prints created by artists who they credit from certain places, and that they teach people about where the art comes from. There's so many reasons to love a designer. Maybe they're amazing the way they work with volume, or maybe their clothes are beautifully crafted, or maybe their clothes are like 0 waste, or maybe they're heavily textured but have no color. Only you know. I mean, as I'm talking about this, I know you're already thinking of some people you love, and I urge you, go with your gut, but think of some people who are actually quite different from each other, but that you adore them both the same. And what you get to do is find the unlikely place where they overlap. And so, whether you're working in a written format or collecting images, make lists for those 2 designers. If you're doing it, it could be a visual list of collecting a bunch of images of their work and or work that reminds you of them, and writing words that you associate with that designer, like earthy, exotic, musical, bright, or maybe it's soothing, soft, delicate, protective, bold, natural. Maybe there's one that you like because they're very synthetic. Or maybe there's one that you like because it's retro. But there's another one that you like that it's futuristic. But give yourself a chance to take a bath in each designer that you love. Just 2 or 3 maybe to limit it. But if you get inspired to list like 10, like I said, go with your energy. But as you start listing what you love about these different designers, you'll even feel how it makes you feel. Like if I'm listing that, if there's a company that I love, things about their business that make me really inspired to be a designer, list those things with the consciousness of how you feel when you reflect on those values. If it's, the way they produce, or the way they distribute, or the way they eliminate waste, or the way they give new life to old garments, or the way they make a woman feel a certain way about herself, or a man, or whoever the customer is. list those words, and as you listen, don't just scribble them down, but feel them in your body, because it's so important that we aren't only designing in our head, which is great because we're so smart, but let your whole body become involved in this process, because it'll be less stressful if you keep bringing your body in, rather than ignoring it while you're thinking. Feel how it feels for you to do design in a certain way, to organize a business in a certain way, to produce garments in a certain way. So some of this is about how the garments are made technically, somehow, maybe it's about the creative process, maybe it's the way a certain brand has evolved through the seasons, or maybe it's just, the way they use fabric or the way they shape shoulders. But write these things down and give yourself moments to like meditate into how that makes you feel and why, what kind of associations come up. Because this is how you learn about yourself, as well as how you bring all those design elements into your body so you kind of become full. I like the idea. When I remember even as a student, my favorite thing, you might call it procrastinating, but I always felt like I was filling myself up, filling with research and energy and love, and a little bit of procrastination, like being afraid to actually do the work, just filling yourself with research. And you're going to reach a tipping point where it just starts to spill out, and it's time to either drape or sketch or collect all the pictures you have and lay them out. Another way, other than listing or collecting images, or just writing things down, you could also be collecting, go through your fabric swatch collection and create piles of fabrics for each of these two or three different designers. And so you should find that you kind of have like a polarity set up, because these are distinct designers, but they're designers who make you want to design. They're also designers maybe that you've learned from, or who you value. They have keys that open the doors to your path. And you're going to pay homage to them by feeling into what their DNA is and realizing that you love them because of your DNA that's somewhere in the middle. And you're going to bring those design DNAs together in a new and unexpected way. And that's when you start to, like, at first you might be like, how do I do that? But once you fill yourself up with, let's just say I'd have Issey Miyake was one of my favorite reasons I went to design school. And then let's say, who was another reason I went to design school? Christian Lacroix. I'm dating myself, okay? But I have these two very different designers, but where do they meet? And I can feel it already. And it definitely has something to do with color and a boldness and a joy. And volume. Like, I just start getting like, oh. And then you kind of push yourself to find connections, to find overlaps. And then you can do that through image boards, right? Like, if you pull images to your desktop, you can pull them together into like a collage format. Try to keep the names of all your design sources so that you can refer back. But then you can start, like I said, draping or just swatching, and you can start sketching. And as you're sketching, you're going to find like you just keep taking elements. And maybe sometimes you're just drawing gets you to slow down and really look. So you might be enjoying this designer all the time, but when you sit down to draw some details of their garments or do sketches of some of their fabrics, the time you spend to slow down and study, research, take notes, draw from their work, that's not stealing, that's studying. You've credited the source and you're embodying it, you're bringing it into your body, And as you take the time to be with it, it will reveal so much more to you than you saw at the beginning. You will find that there are more complexities and more beautiful details and there's more going on than you realize at first. It's like you didn't even know why you loved it so much, but now it's revealing itself to you. And you start having this deeper conversation with the design. And you could do that for each designer, and then always having the space where you're bringing them together. Key elements of why you love each one, which are going to be similar and disparate at the same time. And then just there's it's fertility. it's catalyzation. When these two elements come together, something new is created. And the third element actually really is you, your experiences, your inspiration, your taste in fabrics and colors. You're new, right? They're there already. You're new, you're up and coming, and your voice is fresh now. Where are you at now? How do they influence you now? The inspiration they've given you, where does it tell you to go for you? And you could be sketching flats. You could be sketching just black and white line details of detailing or certain finishes. It could be silhouettes. It could be models. Who are these models? How would you style the silhouettes of their hair and accessories? What kind of body types are you addressing and serving? And then, of course, your fabric swatches, your color. You can use marker, watercolor, wash, collage, anything to bring these shapes and ideas to life. Because every one you put down breeds more and more ideas. And that's one of the reasons that quick sketching becomes a beautiful skill in fashion. It's not about sports. It's not about proving how fast you are, how fast you can run, how clever you are. It's just that having some quick sketching ability allows you to capture more ideas, because you know how it is when you get flooded with ideas and they're all just like escaping you. Quick sketching can help you capture some ideas before they escape, and then you can always come back to them and hone them. Personally, I can do a lot of really cool stuff written, but looking back in my sketchbooks, I really never read the notes. It's so much more about just immediate visuals, things I see. So collect swatches, collect images, sketch. If you're not comfortable sketching figures, then you can use a croquis template. There's some free templates when you subscribe at my website at fashionillustrationtribe.com. You'll get a booklet with fashion design prompts and templates in the back of the book that you can put under paper or screenshot into a drawing app, and then just use them, draw right over them to dress them again and again. They don't have to be posed. They can be posed. This exercise, I'd like to know your questions, because I kind of just let it spill out of me. But I bet you this made sense for you and I. I'd love to know who your two designers would be. Or like if this got you excited to whip out your sketchbook. Because honestly, the most painful thing as a creative, when I think of the early years before I learned to sketch and stuff, was having all this creative energy and not having any skills or formats through which to bring anything to life. It was just like desire with no action or tools, right? And Soulful Fashion Foundation Immersion is about those tools, and it is starting in September. So stay tuned to get more details about that. But I would love to see you doing 25 sketches plus research based on two designers who make you want to design. And so that's your homework. I'll keep this up here for a while. I may tuck this video into the classroom later, into my private course. So now is the time. Do it. See what comes out. Doesn't matter how great you draw. Doesn't matter. Get your ideas out. Mwah.